is it now? Jerry Bryant got me in touch with you and said you need to have him on the show. He's got a good ministry to talk about. And you know, we talk a lot of times here on the air about parents and children that are going through drug issues. That seems to be one of the major problems here for parents, especially if you have teenagers and they're starting so much younger now, and by the time they're in their 20s, you can't do anything. But you have a little bit of experience with that. Tell me your story.
Well, 21 years of Air Force, being a fighter pilot, and a long time flying 747s around the world. Alcohol caught up with me, and my experience with that is what the Lord called me to leave United and come minister to families that kind of went through what I went through, the struggle of the destruction of alcoholism and drug addiction, the way it tears up a family, the way the parents are desperate for help and they don't know what to do. They've got these wonderful kids they've been growing up with and teaching them and going to church with them and all that, and the next thing you know, they're getting phone calls from a sheriff and they're in jail and there's a DUI and there's court, and what do I do, what do I do? And the church tries to meet that need, but there's so many other things the churches are doing that need, I think the parents are just left behind. And nobody wants to talk about, I got a child with addiction problem. And our ministry is really to help the families touched by addictions.
At what age did you go through your struggles? My
struggle, I was older. I mean, I was in my 20s to 40. But,
so it did last that long?
I was 18 years, definitely, yeah. Now, I was very functioning, you know.
A functional alcoholic.
But like I teach guys all the time, you will fall. You'll fall no matter what.
When you talk about children being on drugs, what do you think, or what have you seen? What is the biggest mistake parents make?
Trying to believe that their kid really doesn't have a problem. It's the denial phase, just saying, that wasn't his fault, it was somebody else's fault. And most parents really just want to sweep everything under the rug.
Don't want their neighbors to know.
Don't want the neighbors to know, don't want people in the church to know. Daddy will go pay the sheriff or pay the fines and get a good lawyer, and then kind of hush-hush and think, that, okay, that's done.
Until the next arrest.
And all we do is come alongside the family and help the parents. We have support groups for that. We come alongside of all individuals that are struggling with addiction, because we minister to adults as well. We do a lot of marriage counseling for marriages where a spouse has got a problem, and the wife or the husband is just torn apart by this addiction, because addiction means I'm picking that over you.
Over everything else.
And we just really have to work through that, and I do a lot of interventions, you know, helping with the family, getting people into resources where they need to go. And then the ranch vision is to actually have a facility where we use equestrian and canine therapies to minister to these kids, and eventually even adults. My heart's actually shifting a little bit from the teens. I mean, we're still doing the teens, but that 18 to 28 boomerang generation that's ending up in our basements, goes to college for 7 years and still on the second year of their education, and they can't get a job, and then they just come sit in mom and dad's house.
At what point do you tell parents to say, that's it, stop?
Well,
I know probably every situation. I figured we'd be joined.
Well, I always say there's no formula, there's no equation, and everything needs to be based on love. But, you know, if a child adult child is making decisions for themselves that are destructive, and a parent lets them continue to stay in their house, continue to feed them, continue to supply all their needs, and not have them work and not have some kind of an agreement, then they're just enabling that lifestyle. And what we've seen is, in the last 10 years that I've been doing this, is all it does is prolong the process of them falling to a place where they will be desperate enough to get changed, to ask for change.
But I know you've probably heard from so many parents, but what happens when I throw him out? What if he doesn't make it? What if he overdoses?
Well, as Christians, that's where the God part comes in. That's where we have to begin to learn to trust God with our children. Just like Abraham took Isaac and put him on the altar, and he said, God, you've asked for this, I'm giving him back to you. I've waited 99 years to get him, but now you're asking for him back, I'll give it to him.
But it was that faith he did it.
By faith, that's right. And so we just kind of help the parents realize that. Everything we do ultimately is based on love. Why? So that the child will change and come back to the family, so we can have normal, real relationship. That's the ultimate goal. It's not about punishing them because they're wrong. It's not about kicking them out in tough love. We don't teach tough love. We teach God's love.
Yeah, that's interesting, especially since they know once they leave one home, they can go to a grandparent or an aunt or an uncle or a brother or a sibling, and there's always someone there for a backup plan to get them.
And we help them pull the whole family together and say, oh, we're all in this
That's
together.
what it takes.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.